She called me from a fancy 5-star restaurant, her voice shaking as she whispered, "My card declined. You need to pay, right now." But after everything she'd done, there was no way I was saving her tonight. Hey everyone. My name is Ethan, I'm 28 years old, and I'm a simple, pretty normal guy. I work an average job in IT, play video games with friends on weekends, mow my lawn on Sundays, and until recently, I thought I was in a happy, healthy relationship. My girlfriend's name was Sophie. She was 26, beautiful, outgoing, social, the kind of person who could walk into a room and instantly grab everyone's attention. She wasn't famous, but she acted like she was supposed to be. Her Instagram was full of luxury restaurants, expensive cocktails, and trips with friends, even though I was the one quietly paying for most of those outings. When we first started dating, I didn't mind helping out. I was raised to be kind, supportive, and generous. If someone I cared about needed help, I helped. And she always said she appreciated me for being stable and reliable. At the time, I thought that meant she felt secure with me. Looking back, it meant I was someone she could use. Our financial situation was completely different. I was a saver. I budgeted. I planned ahead. But Sophie? She treated every day like a celebration. Payday? Celebration. Friday? Celebration. Finished laundry? Celebration. Got a compliment from her hairdresser? Guess what? Celebration. She dragged me to these places with gold-plated menus and desserts that cost more than my electricity bill. And every time, I was the one who pulled out my wallet while she took photos of her food, tagged the location, and wrote captions like, "Treating myself because I deserve the best nail polish sparkles." It didn't take long before I noticed a pattern. Whenever the bill came, she suddenly had a headache, or needed to go to the bathroom, or forgot her purse, or her card wasn't working again. And she always gave me this sweet little smile, like paying for everything was my job as a boyfriend. At first, love made me blind. I told myself she'd do the same for me if the roles were reversed. But I was wrong. The cracks really began to show about 6 months into the relationship, when we moved in together. I thought it would bring us closer. Instead, it felt like I'd adopted a princess who viewed me as her personal bank account. She'd throw huge brunches for her friends at our place, and I was expected to pay for all the groceries, cook, and clean up afterward. When I'd say I couldn't afford something, she'd roll her eyes and call me cheap. Oh my God, Ethan, it's literally just money. What's the point of working if you can't enjoy life? She had no idea what my bank account looked like, because she never bothered to ask. She just assumed I had endless cash because I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck like she was. And her friends? They were just like her. Judgmental. Materialistic. Obsessed with status. Whenever they came over, they'd drop passive-aggressive comments like, "Sophie, you should get him to buy you that Prada bag. You deserve luxury." Or, "Why doesn't he just take you on a yacht trip? My boyfriend did that last year." Meanwhile, these same girls couldn't afford their own Uber home. Sophie soaked up the attention, every compliment feeding her ego like gasoline on a fire. I tried to talk to her. Tried to set boundaries. Tried to explain that I wasn't made of money. But every time, she flipped it on me. "Wow. So you think I'm not worth nice things? I guess your love has limits. Why are you trying to control how I live?" She turned my responsibility into an insult to her. It was emotional manipulation at its finest. And I fell for it, again and again. But I wasn't stupid. I noticed everything. The sense of entitlement. The fake innocence when the bill came. The way she flaunted her lifestyle online, while I was in the background struggling to make ends meet. I loved her, or maybe I loved who I thought she could be. But a thought had started forming in the back of my mind. What happens when I run out of money? Would she disappear? Throw me away? Replace me with someone richer? And as much as I didn't want to believe that, a storm was brewing. And soon, she would give me the confirmation I needed. The night everything changed. It started with a phone call from a 5-star restaurant. The first real red flag came disguised as a girls' night out. Sophie burst into the apartment after work, dressed like she'd stepped off the cover of a fashion magazine. Hair curled, lashes long, lips painted a shade of red she only wore when she wanted attention. She twirled once and asked, "Do I look rich?" I laughed lightly, but she didn't. She stared, waiting for validation, not from me, but from her reflection, her followers, her fantasy. Then she announced, "We're going out to celebrate. My friends and I are hitting this new rooftop place. Michelin-starred. Super exclusive." I asked, "Sounds fancy. Do you have enough money?" Her eyes sharpened like knives. "Ethan, don't embarrass me. I'll pay. I'm not broke." It was the confidence of someone whose checking account contained exactly $17.54. I didn't fight it. I was learning not to challenge her ego. I just hoped she'd be responsible, at least this once. As she got ready, she sprayed half a bottle of designer perfume I bought her on our anniversary, because she insisted the cheaper ones smelled like poverty. Her jewelry? My gifts. Her purse? One I paid for after she guilted me by saying every girl needs at least one luxury bag. Before she walked out, she kissed my cheek and said, "I'll be home by midnight. Love you." I smiled back, but in my gut, something twisted. A feeling I couldn't yet describe. Midnight came. No Sophie. 1 a.m. Silence. 2 a.m. Still nothing, not even a text. 3 a.m. Finally, my phone lit up. It was a photo posted on her Instagram story. Her and her friends holding champagne glasses, a skyline behind them, captioned, "Sparkles if he can't take you here, replace him." Sparkles. My heart dropped. Replace? Was that supposed to be a joke? A hint? Or a warning? Comments flooded in, guys and girls drooling over her pics, complimenting her looks, asking if she was single. She replied with flirty emojis. And I sat there, wondering why the hell I was bending over backwards to support someone who didn't respect me enough to acknowledge that I existed. At 3:27 a.m., the front door swung open. Sophie stumbled in like a newborn deer in high heels, laughing, reeking of liquor. Her phone still recording her drunken giggles. She barely looked at me. "Ugh. Why are you up? You're so clingy." Clingy. Because I waited up for her to get home safe. She dropped onto the couch, kicked off her heels, and started ranting about how amazing the restaurant was. The food, the view, how her friend deserved that kind of life. Deserved. Like luxury was a birthright. I asked casually, "So, how did paying go?" She hesitated, just a second, but I caught it. Then she brushed her hair dramatically and said, "Oh well, my card declined a couple times. But it's fine. I just used another one." That was a lie. I could smell it on her breath. But instead of confronting her, I let it go. For the moment. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. Posted more photos. Ignored me when I asked if she wanted breakfast. When I finally sat her down days later and tried to talk seriously about finances, about how she needed to budget and stop expecting me to pay for everything, she didn't apologize. She laughed. "Babe, I thought you liked taking care of me. Isn't that your role?" Role. As if relationships were jobs. And mine was to fund her lifestyle. When I pushed further, she scoffed and said, "Fine. If you're going to be dramatic about money, I'll just go out more with my friends. They appreciate me." It was like trying to reason with a brick wall, a very expensive, shallow brick wall covered in fake designer logos. Still, I stayed. Why? Because love distorts logic. Because I kept believing she'd change. Because I didn't want to admit I'd wasted 2 years of my life. But change doesn't come from denial. And Sophie wasn't just ungrateful. She was escalating. The lies became bigger. The outings more frequent. The spending more reckless. And then, she crossed the final line. A night that would shatter everything. And open my eyes completely. It started with a panicked phone call. From that same rooftop restaurant. It was a Saturday night. I was home, finally relaxing after a brutal week at work. I heated up leftover pasta, turned on a movie, and thought I'd actually get a peaceful evening for once. Then my phone rang. Sophie. At first, I smiled. Maybe she was calling to ask if I wanted anything while she was out. Maybe she missed me. I answered. What I heard instead was pure desperation. Her voice was shaky, frantic, nothing like the confident, entitled princess who floated through luxury restaurants like she owned them. Ethan. Oh, thank God. You need to come here right now. I sat up straighter. Sophie? What's wrong? In the background, I could hear clinking glasses, chatter, upbeat music. She was clearly out at another fancy spot. I'm at the Sapphire Lounge. My card declined. 3 times. The waiter is staring at me like I'm garbage, and my friends are all pretending they don't know me. You need to get here now. There it was. Not fear. Not embarrassment. Just expectation. Like I was a trained dog she could whistle for. I asked calmly, "Why did you go if you didn't have money?" Her reply, "Because my friends shouldn't have to lower their standards just because you like being cheap." Cheap? Me? The guy who had funded her entire lifestyle for months? Something inside me snapped. All the late nights worrying about rent because she maxed out her credit card. All the insults, the ridicule from her friends, the entitlement. Every ignored text. Every time she flaunted luxury I paid for. It hit me at once. She had no respect for me. Still, I stayed calm. I asked, "Where's your wallet? Didn't you just get paid?" She scoffed. "I bought the new Louis Vuitton perfume. It was limited edition. Anyway, stop lecturing me and get here. The bill is only like $480. Only." There's that word again. I asked a simple question. Why can't your friends help? Silence. Then a bitter laugh. They already chipped in for drinks earlier. They're not ATMs. You're my boyfriend, this is your job. Your job. Like being with her was employment. A contract. A debt. That was the moment everything became crystal clear. She didn't love me. She loved what I provided. Money. Status. Comfort. Ego. And if I stopped providing, I would no longer be useful. I took a deep breath. Sophie. I need you to listen to me carefully. There was a pause, the kind that happens right before an explosion. Ethan, don't you dare embarrass me. Come pay the bill and we can argue later. And then? She added the line that stabbed deeper than anything she'd said before. If you can't handle taking care of your woman, maybe you're not man enough for me. There it was. The truth. Raw. Vicious. It was never about us. Never about partnership. Only about what she could drain from me. I stood up from the couch, paced the room, heart pounding, not from panic, but awakening. I looked around our apartment, everything I paid for. I pictured the countless hours I worked overtime so she could maintain this fantasy life. And suddenly, I felt free. No more apologies for not being rich enough. No more pretending I didn't see the red flags. No more financing her delusions. She wanted her friends. She wanted the luxury. She wanted someone to bankroll her image. Fine. Let her see exactly what life looks like without me. I put the phone back to my ear. Sophie, I'm not coming. For a moment, she didn't understand. Then the fury erupted. What? Stop playing, Ethan. This isn't funny. I spoke clearly, calmly, like I was canceling a subscription. You've treated me like a wallet, not a partner. I'm done. Good luck paying your bill. She screamed my name so loud I had to pull the phone away. She unleashed every insult she could think of, pathetic, loser, worthless, blaming me for a situation she created. They're going to call the cops on me. Do you want that? I didn't reply. I simply hung up. And in that tiny click, years of manipulation shattered. She called back instantly. I watched the phone vibrate in my hand. And then I blocked her. The peace was instant. Quiet. Clean. But I wasn't finished yet. Because Sophie needed to learn that actions have consequences. Real ones. And tomorrow, I would make sure she learned that lesson publicly. My revenge was just beginning. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because I was worried about Sophie, but because my mind was buzzing with a level of clarity I hadn't felt in years. For so long, she made me feel like I owed her. Like love was measured in costly dinners and designer bags. Like my worth was based solely on how much I could spend. But that night, sitting alone in silence, I realized something. She had never been embarrassed to treat me like a human ATM. So why should I feel bad about finally cutting the power? Still, if Sophie was going to learn a lesson, it needed to be a lesson she would never forget. I knew exactly how she would react after that blocked call. Anger. Panic. Then the victim act. She'd run to her friends first, spinning a story about how cruel and heartless I was. But I had a secret weapon. Receipts. Screenshots. Bank statements. All the evidence of what I'd been paying for. Thousands of dollars covering her lifestyle. Why did I keep everything? Because deep down, I always knew this day might come. Still, exposing her wasn't my main goal. There was something bigger, and far more satisfying. You see, everything in our apartment was in my name. The lease. The furniture. The TV. The bed she sprawled across while complaining that being adored is exhausting. And Sophie? She contributed exactly 0% financially. I realized something huge. She thought she could publicly shame me for not paying her bill. But I could legally remove her from the very life she bragged about online. The plan formed smoothly. Cold, methodical, justified. Step 1. Block her on everything: phone, social media, Venmo, everything. Let her feel the weight of being cut off. Step 2. Gather every item I paid for, and create a detailed list. Step 3. When she comes crawling back, hit her with the truth and the consequences. And Step 4. The grand finale. Show the world, including her rich and fabulous friends, who she really was. The key was timing. And I didn't have to wait long. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of messages from unknown numbers. Sophie borrowing friends' phones trying to get through. But I ignored them. Every single one. Around noon, I went to her friend's favorite brunch spot. Just a couple blocks from where Sophie had dinner. I knew exactly what I'd find there. Her friend group. Hungover. Pretending last night wasn't a disaster. I walked straight up to their table. Every one of them turned to look at me, confused and silent. And then, I saw her. Sophie. Makeup smudged. Eyes red from crying, or maybe screaming. Trying to hold herself together, but failing miserably. She stared at me like I was the villain in her movie. Ethan, you left me there like trash. I didn't yell. I didn't get emotional. I simply placed a folder on the table. Inside, every receipt. Every expense. Thousands spent on her vanity. I said quietly, trash doesn't cost $14,632.47. Her friends gasped. I continued. For 2 years, I supported you. I loved you. I believed you'd appreciate me. Instead, you mocked me, used me, and bragged about replacing me. She opened her mouth. But for once, no words came out. Then I delivered the final blow. You have 48 hours to move out. Everything here. I gestured toward the papers. Belongs to me. Legally. Her friends looked away. The same girls who cheered every time she used me. Now suddenly ashamed to be associated with her. Sophie reached for my arm, voice cracking. Ethan, please, just give me one more chance. Not a tear in sight. Just panic at losing the lifestyle she stole. I stepped back. No more chances. No more bills. No more lies. Then I turned and walked away. With a calmness I didn't know I was capable of. But the real revenge? Oh, that was still coming. She thought the embarrassment at brunch was the worst part. She was wrong. Because in less than 48 hours, Sophie's entire world was going to collapse. Publicly. And perfectly. The hostess led Talia and her group to a corner, giving them distance from the chaos, exactly what I needed. I stayed put at the bar, perfectly in sight but not close enough for Talia to easily call out to me. I wanted her to feel every second. The manager appeared again, much less patient than before. Ma'am. One last time. Do you have any form of payment? I told you. Talia snapped, practically foaming at the mouth. My boyfriend will pay. He's right. She whipped her head around and froze. Her eyes landed on me. standing there, watching, smiling. The blood drained from her face like someone pulled the plug. "You," she hissed. "Me," I said, raising my glass slightly like a toast. "You're paying for this. Right now," she demanded, stomping toward me. But the manager blocked her path. "Ma'am, please stay with your party. We require payment before you may leave this area again." The entire restaurant, a packed Friday night dining room, had now turned into a silent theater. Talia was the main act, and everyone wanted to see how it ended. Her friend, the drains your wallet first ask questions later one, marched up behind her. "Talia, what's going on?" the friend whispered harshly. Talia spun around and threw her hands in the air. "This psycho is refusing to pay, and they're treating me like some kind of criminal." The manager inhaled sharply. "Ma'am, you attempted to walk out on the bill." Another waitress arrived with a printed check, as long as my forearm. "Total is $637.42, she announced. The table gasped. "Almost $700. For appetizers and cocktails." Talia looked at me, her voice shaking but full of rage. "I swear to God if you don't pay this." "No," I cut in softly. "You will never talk to me again like I'm your personal ATM. You dragged me into your life to show off. You lied about paying. You insulted me when I refused. This is your mess." Her voice cracked. I don't have money." Then came the tears. Ugly, loud, dramatic tears. She fell to her knees, actual knees, grabbing at the air like a toddler denied candy. "Please. You don't understand. I can't get in trouble again," she wailed. "My dad will kill me." There it was. She wasn't scared of the bill. She was scared of the consequences. The manager leaned down to her level. "Ma'am, if you cannot resolve payment, we will have to involve the authorities." Her dramatic sobbing stopped instantly. "Police." The word shot through her. Her group whispered harshly among themselves. This girl who lived like she was royalty now looked like a peasant begging for scraps. The entitled friend stepped forward. Okay. We'll split it. Everyone just Venmo me your share." That's when the real panic hit. Because her friends weren't like her. One girl replied, my drink was like $12. I'm not paying for your lobster tower." Another added, "I got the side salad. I ain't paying for y'all's champagne." The guy shook his head. "Nope. I told you we shouldn't have come here." They began to turn on her. And I just watched. This wasn't just a bill. This was every lie she'd ever told collapsing in one night. Talia, voice trembling, tried again. "Please, baby. I'll do anything. Just pay it. Please." She reached to touch my arm. I pulled back. "No," I said. Calm. Firm. Final. "You made your choice when you called me selfish. When you tried to humiliate me. Now you can deal with what that looks like." She stared at me like I'd just pushed her off a cliff. Her mascara smeared down to her jawline. Hair falling out of its perfect waves. She looked nothing like the glamorous trophy she pretended to be. Finally, the manager sighed. "Ma'am, either someone pays now, or we begin legal procedure." Silence. No savior. Not this time. The entitled friend sighed dramatically, then asked for her card back. "I'll pay for the table," she muttered. "But you," she pointed aggressively into Talia's forehead, "will pay me every penny back. Tomorrow." She shoved her card at the manager, who inspected it carefully like it might explode. Transaction approved. The crisis was over. But Talia's humiliation had just begun. As her friend stormed out without waiting for her, she slumped into a chair, defeated. She glanced back at me, less like a queen and more like a child who finally realized their tantrum didn't work. "You ruined my life," she whispered. "No," I replied. "I just stopped letting you ruin mine." With that, I placed cash on the bar for my single drink, tipped generously, and walked out without another look. No yelling. No name calling. Just a clean break. Because sometimes, the most powerful revenge is simply letting people face the world without the shield they used you as. When I stepped out into the cold night air, the rush of freedom hit me like a clean breeze after a storm. No more games. No more manipulation. No more being someone's emergency wallet. I got in my car, put on some music, and drove home. For the first time in months, I didn't feel anxious about when the next financial bomb would drop. I felt weightless. But the story wasn't over. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages, all from Talia. You can't be serious. My friend is threatening to sue me. Do you even care what you've done? Answer me. Then a voice message came through, the kind you can feel before you even press play. I shouldn't have listened. But I did. Her voice was trembling, angry, and desperate. You humiliated me in front of everyone. You owe me a chance to fix this. I didn't deserve that. You're a coward for walking away like that. A real man takes care of his girlfriend. I laughed, a bitter, exhausted laugh, and finally deleted her number. But she wasn't done. Within hours, she was blowing up my social media. Tagged updates. Vague threats. Crying selfies. A dramatic breakup announcement filled with lies. He used me. He forced me to depend on him financially. He abandoned me when I needed him most. She was trying to turn the narrative upside down, make me the villain. But here's the thing about people like her. Eventually, the truth trips them. Her own friends, the ones who were at the restaurant, commented under her post. You put us in that situation. You said you would pay. Don't drag him into your mess. The facade cracked again. She deleted the post. Then she went silent. That sweet, quiet silence. Meanwhile, I kept going, focused on work, ate healthier, slept better. It was like removing her from my life opened windows that had been shut for too long. But one night, maybe 2 weeks later, I heard a knock on my door. I checked the peephole. Talia. In sweats, eyes red, hair unkempt. A total contrast to the diva who once strutted like she owned the world. I didn't open the door. She called through the wood, voice hoarse. You were right. I messed up. I lost my friends. My dad grounded me. I'm paying that bill back every week. Please. Just talk to me. I can change. I will change. I stayed silent. Because any response, even rejection, would give her hope. And she didn't need hope. She needed reality. After 5 long minutes, she whispered, I miss the way you treated me. That was exactly the problem. She missed the treatment, not me. Her footsteps faded, and I watched from the window as she walked away into the darkness, hugging herself like the world finally felt cold without someone to pay for the warmth. A week passed. Then I saw an Instagram story, not hers, but her former friend's. Talia at a cheap diner, arguing with a cashier over a $12 meal. That was her new world. Not luxury. Not attention. Not endless spending. Just reality. She dropped out of the 5-star lifestyle like a stone from a skyscraper. No one was rushing to catch her. People eventually find balance. She learned she wasn't invincible. I learned boundaries matter. Months went by before her name even crossed my mind again. And when it did, I didn't feel anger or satisfaction, just distance. A life that didn't belong to mine anymore. The last piece of closure came in a simple message, from the friend who paid the bill. You did the right thing. She's getting help now. I hope you're doing better too. I stared at the text for a minute, then smiled. Not because she got help, but because I escaped before needing it. Some people aren't bad, just broken in all the wrong ways. But it's not your job to glue them together, especially when they keep slicing your hands with every piece. Talia wasn't a monster. She was someone who never learned how to stand on her own feet. Until her knees hit the floor. And I was done being the one she leaned on. I think the hardest part about letting go of someone like Talia isn't the relationship ending. It's realizing you spent so much time trying to convince yourself that love could fix everything. That if you just gave a little more, waited a little longer, swallowed one more red flag, eventually, they'd become the person you believed they could be. But love isn't a repair shop. And people aren't projects. Looking back now, I can see that the real problem wasn't Talia's need for help, it was her belief that she was entitled to it. That I owed her a lifestyle she couldn't afford. That supporting her financially meant she didn't owe respect, effort, or growth in return. Relationships aren't built on one person carrying the other, They're built on two people choosing to walk side by side. She forgot that. Or maybe, she never learned it. There's a version of this story where I panic during that phone call at the restaurant. Where I rush over with my wallet open, desperately trying to soothe her embarrassment. Where I apologize for not magically appearing the moment she demanded it. And honestly, that version used to exist inside me. A version scared to disappoint. Scared to say no. Scared to be seen as the bad guy. But something changed in that moment. Maybe it was the memory of every time she mocked my job while spending the money it earned. Every time she demanded things instead of asking. Every time she treated my support like a subscription service she could cancel once someone wealthier came along. Maybe I finally realized that being used isn't love. And avoiding conflict isn't peace. The truth is, if someone only values you for what you can provide, then once you stop providing, their love disappears. That's not love. That's dependency wrapped in entitlement. And dependency can be cured. Entitlement can be humbled. Sometimes the most powerful wake-up call is silence. Letting someone fall, not to punish them, but to show them gravity exists. I don't know where Talia is now. I hope she's learning how to build a life instead of borrowing one. I hope she learns to treat people like partners instead of providers. I hope she finds someone who cares enough to hold her accountable, before it's too late again. But her future isn't my responsibility. Mine is. Walking away wasn't just the end of a relationship. It was the beginning of self-respect. I learned that love shouldn't cost you your dignity. That saying no doesn't make you cruel. Sometimes it's the kindest thing you can do for both people. That peace comes when you stop allowing others to exploit your kindness. If someone can't love you without draining you, they never loved you to begin with. So if you're listening to this and someone in your life keeps taking more than they give, keeps putting you last while expecting to be treated first, keeps confusing generosity with obligation, ask yourself, what would happen if you simply stopped paying the bill? Not just with money, with your time, with your energy, with your heart. The people who stay, they're the ones who value you, not what you can offer. The ones who leave, they were only ever there for the benefits. Talia taught me something I'll never forget. If someone treats your kindness like a weakness, show them what strength looks like when you finally walk away. And sometimes, the most satisfying revenge isn't ruining someone's life. It's letting them face the one they created, on their own.